want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Madmen of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you. Good morning, Madmen Mafia. I don't care where you are. It's morning somewhere.
Morning somewhere. I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I do be Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Madmen of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
For you.
Had a little break in the voice there.
Did you?
It's like puberty all over again. I'm telling you.
Like alfalfa or something like that?
For you.
Alfalfa was going through puberty.
Yeah, he was
singing a Barbara of Seville.
The Baba of the Bill. Oh wait, no, that was Spanky or
no, that was Alfalfa.
No, the one I was singing was Buckwheat.
Oh,
the Baba of the Bill.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that was Eddie Murphy playing Buckwheat.
Probably. Man, I remember the Little Rascals. They used to have them big old thick slices of bread. They used to make them sandwiches with, man, them big old depression size.
With a little bit of little bologna for color.
A little something in there, man. Anyhow, man. What's up? What's going on, man?
I don't know. You wanted to start over, so we're starting over.
That's a good question, man. Let's get right into it.
First of all, what are we starting over? Do I need to
we just
change
start
something?
over life, man.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes
just life.
You got to think about it. When the longer you live, the more you have experiences in life. First of all, let me back up. Oh, before I do anything, before I say anything else, if you are ever watching us live as we do this thing, go to the Madmen of Masculinity page on Facebook or YouTube. Watch it there. And then when you comment, we will see it live on the screen. We get a lot of folks that watch it on us sharing the live stream. And after we get all these comments and all this other kind of stuff, we don't get to reply on air because they're not on the Madmen page on YouTube or Facebook. So
don't be mad at us when we don't reply until after the fact.
Yeah, that's just the way.
Just trying to help
you.
We
ain't
out.
Broken. We're not ignoring you.
Help us help you.
Go to the Madmen of Masculinity page on Facebook, and you can do that, by the way, every Monday, somewhere around 4:30, 4:45, whenever we feel like it, Mountain Time. That's just how we roll, and then sometimes we come back on Thursday afternoons and do the dang thing. But yeah, so go to the Madmen of Masculinity page on Facebook. Comment there, and then we will see your comment right here on the screen, and then JBK will make you famous.
I shall. And let's real quick. I'm gonna address the Thursday thing because we have one of the reasons we're doing this episode is because life happens. Yeah. Life happens to all of us. So to be courteous and understanding and compassionate, that was the word I was looking for. I wonder why I couldn't think of that the first time. But just to be compassionate to Kirk and his sleep schedule and everything he's got going on, it's like, let's take the Thursdays off. Let's play it by ear because I know he could use a little extra nappy time.
Sometimes we do a little 30-minute kind of conversation, quick combo on Thursday afternoon, Thursday evenings about just random stuff. A lot of times it's more loose because that's not FCC regulated. So this conversation is at least while we're on air, while we're not on break. So yeah, on Thursday we come back, do a little loosey goosey. Little quick conversation, talk about whatever,
Yeah, and if you're listening to us on 1220 AM KLDC right here in the Mile High City, and you want to hear those Thursday conversations, go to YouTube. Yeah. Type in Madmen of Masculinity, and you will find our channel. Like and subscribe. Click that little bell icon. It'll let you know when we're coming on live, and then you can watch all. I don't know how many years we got now. 4 or 5 years, 6 years, something like that. We got years worth of content that you can go and don't go too far back though, because I don't want to hear no comments about how fat I used to be.
Something like that. There are different times in life where all of us will go through similar experiences. And those kind of experiences are times where we have to, maybe you wouldn't call it step back. Maybe when you call it where life comes at you in some kind of way. A lot of times it's unplanned. Sometimes it could be planned, but times where you got to start over. Times where maybe it's a change of a season, change of a calendar. We do it every year, every 365 days. We start over with our calendar. We go, from the end of the year to the beginning of the year, just as at a change of a clock. And so sometimes in life, you have these experiences, whether it's, it could be a loss of a job or a change of a job. It could be a change of a relationship, the loss of a relationship, the start of a relationship. Could be, a loss in your life. Maybe a family member passes away. There are times in life where us, especially us as men, go through the difficult process of hitting reset or starting over. And so today I figured maybe we just take a little bit and just kind of unpack. We never rehearse what we're going to talk about, but just unpack the whole idea of starting over.
Well, it is springtime, and before the Gregorian calendar, this used to be the beginning of the year. So this was the new year because it's springtime. Everything's starting to flower and flourish, and it is a great time. I mean, spring cleaning out the closet. It's a good time to clean out the past and get ready to start over. And it may be symbolic a lot of times for folks, but really, this is a great time to look at where have I been? Where do I want to go? What can I let go of? And how can I make my future more priority? Instead of dragging my past around like an anchor, like what can I let go of? Does that take therapy? Does that just take me looking at my ego and myself and realizing that my suffering, for the most part, comes from me arguing with reality? Most of the times for us, especially as guys, we go, I didn't like that. That's not the way I wanted it. This is not looking the way I think it should look. And we don't act like Bruce Lee. We don't act like water. We don't flow with it. We don't allow it. We resist it because we think it should look the way we think it should look. But if we were to take a step back to Kirk's point and allow the creator to flow through us, maybe they see a bigger picture. Maybe those that are kind of guiding us can see, we're in the valley, they're up on the mountaintops, they can see our path. And so if we would allow that flow to happen naturally, it might make our life easier, even if it looks like we're making a U-turn or we're going the wrong direction. We can't see everything. It's like when you're following GPS and you like, I don't trust Siri. I think I'm going to turn right here. And you don't realize that just because they used to work, that she's telling you to go that way because there's an accident or there's a stoppage or traffic jam or something like that. And then you made it worse because you think you know best. For a lot of us, it's the same thing. We look at life and go, I don't like the way this looks. And instead of sitting with it and trying to tap in and learn and hear the voice that says, no, go this way, do this, this will be better for you. We say, that doesn't look the way I want it to. And then we start resisting and fighting against the natural flow of our lives. And then we start to suffer because we don't allow that natural flow of the creator through us.
I bet 51 out of 100 men kind of fall into this somewhat category. I bet you 51 out of 100 men like predictability, like things to kind of be, and you know where it is, you know what's about to happen, you know where your keys are, you know where your whatever, you know what's about to happen next, and all those kinds of things. I bet you 51 out of 100 men like that, some sense of predictability, some sense of routine, not necessarily all type A like structure, but at least that. And by that, I think most men don't like the idea of having to hit the reset button and change. And unfortunately, as men, we're going to have to deal with that. We're going to have to cross bridges where we accept the fact that change is constant. That change is something that we got to get used to, that we got to accept, and that we got to learn how to deal with, and we got to be able to cope in the stress and in the increased cortisol and the unsurety and insecurity of just change, and when things kind of go left and go right. When we get into relationships, for example, maybe this is a good pivot for that. Maybe when we get into relationships, we want to know, maybe you're going to be the same tomorrow that you are today, or after we get married, are you going to be the same way you were before we get married? These are the questions we ask, and I know some woman out there saying, well, we ask the same thing because men change. Okay, I get it, but this is mad men of masculinity. And so, but a lot of men question that. A lot of men question long-term relationships because it's like, no, women change. Women, and let's be real, women, yeah, you do. I mean, trust you, I'm an expert. I've been married multiple times.
Yeah. Well, when you're talking about stability thing, let's just get into was it?
Yeah,
it was a dad joke. It was kind of
sarcastic. I'm an expert because I've been married.
Yeah, I got you. But getting into the needs of human beings, so it's not just men. It's not even just 51 out of 100 men. It's all people. Yeah. We need to feel stable. We need to feel a level of certainty, but then we also need to feel a level of uncertainty. And most of the time, we feel the uncertainty when we feel certain. Like we're certain at this point at the 12th floor of this building, we're not going to fall through the floor, and the ceiling's not going to fall on us. So we feel safe here. But then we want to have some uncertainty, so we go out and drive in traffic and go out and play in traffic like most of us do, or we go get on roller coasters or go skiing or snowboarding or racing or whatever it is to give ourselves that excitement. And we like horror movies and things, so we feel we're safe in the theater, but we want to scare ourselves. So that's that uncertainty, and that's what happens a lot of times when you're talking about relationships. We try to create this stability, and we don't accept the fact that change is the only constant ever. And so we think, oh, I got my person, they're going to be the same forever. And then if you do try to force that and you say, I don't want you to change, then they're going to rebel and change right in front of your eyes and do it to create that uncertainty, to create that drama, to create the fights so that they can feel some uncertainty. And so for us guys, especially, we need to understand that change is a constant. We may like stability. We may like to feel like we have a strong foundation, but that strong foundation is just usually us knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, knowing who you are so that you can flow with life. But when we go, change should never happen. I want to drill everything down, glue everything down, and make sure nothing ever moves. That's not gonna work.
If you ever find yourself in the ebb and flow of a masculine and feminine relationship, you'll find that the masculine tends to be the stable, tends to be the constant, and the feminine tends to be the unstable or the not constant.
You can say chaotic.
Chaotic, absolutely. And in that case, by putting genders to it, men and women, generally speaking, women even have a thing they call the change, and y'all know what I'm talking about, the change. Biologically, generally speaking, on a monthly basis, there's a change. Like all of a sudden, he comes home and who she was yesterday ain't who she is today, and he don't know when she gonna go back to being who she was yesterday. We just gonna have to deal with this and ride through this. And so, it can be an up and down challenge to maintain that stability and to maintain the expectation of change. And to that, there's some degree of not being comfortable in the comfort zone or not seeking the comfort zone, I guess you can say. And that should definitely be something that as men, we accept that there's no growth in the comfort zone. There's no growth without the change. And really, there's no growth without starting over and having to hit reset sometimes.
Yeah, that's why we focus so much on making men better and really getting into the core of who you are. Because when you know who you are, you have your foundation, you have that connection to God, you have that connection to spirit, you know that you're good just as you, then you can handle all the changes of life. Then you can handle that feminine woman in your life. It's when we're trying, most guys and most people for that matter, try to control out of fear because they're so afraid of things changing. They're so afraid they cannot handle these changes. They're so afraid that any little thing is going to knock them off because they don't have that strong foundation within themselves. So every little thing, and that's why you see people freaking out over their Starbucks order or in the Costco or whatever about small, silly little things, because they're so insecure about themselves that they're trying to control everything around them, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you realize everything outside of you have no control over. You need to have a bit of grace with the fact that you have no control over those things outside of you. All you can control is yourself and your response and your reaction. But when you come from fear, when you feel insecure and unstable, you're going to try to control the outside world, and then you're going to suffer because you can't do it. There's no way to do it.
Now, I get it, man. There is a level of fear when you live with a hormonal woman or when you're in a relationship with. There is a level of fear of what is about to happen.
Worried, am I going to wake up tomorrow?
Like, there is a level of justifiable and probably rational fear in that whole thing. That doesn't mean that we should not be the thermostat and not the thermometer, that we should walk into the room and set the temperature as opposed to reacting or responding to the temperature. And so when we find ourselves in the resets, when we find ourselves in the startovers of life, we have to maintain our thermostat self. We have to maintain our thermostat identity. One thing that keeps coming to my mind right now, I'm thinking about, for example, Coach Prime up at CU. Every year in college football, this turnover, kids coming, kids going, coaches coming, going. And if you watch him, he is pretty consistent with the vision, with the mission, and we're going to be all right, and we're going to win. Speaking of we're going to win.
It's about time for us to check the thermostat on this break.
Won a minute ago.
I'm telling you.
We'll be right back. Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC. I looked down. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I was about to be like, but you.
No, actually, I looked down at this first, and I was like, oh, we got that. Then I looked up at that one, and I was like, oh, wait. This thing is not going.
Yeah, you got to.
That's why this time is not on. Well,
you got to push the button, man.
Got to push the button in life. Sometimes you got to push the button, man.
Got to.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, Tanner Coleman, are you watching somebody else's podcast, or are you actually paying attention? Are you this time?
See, multitasking.
Yeah. Because guys are really good at that. I can listen to two different things at once. That's all good, man.
So you've been pushing that button on Hinge again, getting some dates and stuff? What are you doing there?
Yeah.
Hot stuff?
We need an update. Ooh.
Huh.
We didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, we feel you. I know I do. I'm the same thing. I'm like, I would almost rather just stay home.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
It sounds like no fun at all.
And I know folks can't hear. We talking to our main man, the #1 producer in the country.
Yeah, we're trying. And if you're watching this and you're a 20-something single lady and you like tall soccer playing dudes, we got the man for you.
Southern California.
Yeah,
we got that kind of vibe going for him. You know what I'm saying?
You can holiday in the tropics. You can go to San Diego for the holidays.
We should line up. Free room and board.
All right, so ladies,
we're gonna do a show where we're gonna interview. We're gonna do like a dating game.
Yeah, we're gonna pimp him out.
We're gonna get some women on here, some young 20-some-year-olds, and we're gonna run them through some questions, and we're gonna set them up on a date with Tanner.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bring him on camera and do something like that.
You think so?
You guys,
that'd be cool
because they pretty much think we're talking to a ghost. They can't hear him, and they think we're just talking to ourselves.
That'd be cool, man. We find us, a nice young lady, a couple of young ladies, and interview them, and we pick one.
Yeah,
and we treat them. We treat a date. What do you think about that, Tanner? Oh,
it's on now.
Ooh,
it's on now.
It's on now. It's on now. We got a mission.
All right. Well, we better. All right. Speaking of mission, we better get back to our
show. Here all day, man. All right, let's roll. We're back.
Yes, we are.
Mad Men of Masculinity.
Right here on KLDC.
Yeah, 1220
AM.
Mile High
City.
Home of for the city. Home of the current and probably maybe even soon to be two-time NBA champs.
That's very nice.
I'm gonna stop it right there.
Just don't go downtown when they playing. If you're trying to get home on time, I'm just letting you know because the ball arena, that area, Spear, Rotary Parkway. Yeah. I that last event I did downtown, and then I left and not thinking about it. Just talking about, see, if I had listened to my GPS, maybe I'd have been out of there on time, but no, I want to go the way I want to go.
I think this whole last break, we came up with a whole new show, man.
Yeah, we're going to have a whole new show.
We're going to find a couple ladies, we're going to bring them in, but we can't. We're
not even going to find, we're going to bring in Tanner, our producer.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
And then basically we're going to pimp him out. We're going to get him a date.
But we gotta do like the dating game. We gotta bring the ladies in and we gotta interview them to figure out who deserves a date.
After we interview him, and then all the ladies send in all their fan mail and stuff, and we're gonna pick.
We're gonna do that. We doing that.
See, this is why when you're listening to us on the radio, you got to make sure you go to YouTube and watch us on the Mad Men of Masculinity channel on YouTube, because we talk about all kind of things that a lot of times aren't show related. Now, then we got to do like now, we got to rewind and get back on topic.
Now we do. Talk about starting over today.
Yeah, talk about starting over.
We're gonna start Tanner over.
We're gonna start this episode over.
Yeah, we are, man. Talk about, there's times in life where you got to hit the reset button. There's times in life where you got to start over. Having unfortunately been through the scenario of divorce, matter of fact, more than once. I keep it real. There's a lot of guys, that have been through that kind of reset. And I would not wish that on any man at all, to go from having a household, with your family, wife and kids, all that, to then having to move into somebody's basement or move into some empty shack, and move out of your house and lose, half of whatever you had and all this other kind of stuff. All of a sudden you look up and, life is totally different. That's a depressing kind of reset. That's one of those scenarios that a lot of men have gone through, where, man, it's lonely, it's embarrassing, and there are guys that think is maybe worth checking out at that time, because it's normally you're the enemy, normally you're the reason why, at least in the court of public opinion, and so, man, having to hit the reset button, man, you got to have hope that it'll get better.
Yeah, and even if you're like me and you've never been married, don't think you're off the hook, because I've been in many basements, I've slept on many couches, like. You're going to have your own resets. You're going to have your own start over points. And that's just life. I mean, we ought to just go ahead and it's something we don't probably, with the rite of passage, with, bringing healthy masculinity back in the home, we got to teach the kids. This is how it is. You're going to go every day is a new stage. Every day is a new phase. You're going to go through phases in life, and that's change. And so the only constant can be you and your foundation, which I'm sorry, that's going to change as well. Hopefully it's growing and getting better and stronger, but it's still going to change. And so either it's going to change for the better because you're working on it and you're consciously expanding it, you're consciously strengthening it and strengthening yourself, or it's going to weaken. Either way, it's going to change. You're either growing or you're decaying. There's pretty much the only two constants in life.
You got to accept the fact that it's going to happen. You got to accept the fact that you're going to have instances, you're going to have scenarios, you're going to have moments in life where everything that was or everything that is now was, and you're going to have to, completely start from scratch in some kind of way. There'll be times where you're going to have to rebuild your life. You have to rebuild your body, maybe. Maybe you've gone through some sickness. Maybe you've gone through just an injury or something like that, and you're going to have to rebuild. You got to rebuild from scratch. And you got to accept the fact that that's just the way life is. And, us as men, you got to realize that change is constant, and don't fight it because it's going to happen.
Just remember, I mean, it was one of the old adages, and I think the wise man said, he would hand out these rings, and on it said, "This too shall pass." And so anytime you're having a struggle, you just look down at that and, this too shall pass. And I've had injuries, I've had surgery, I've had sicknesses, and just knowing that will pass gets you through it. But sometimes we fight too hard, we resist too hard the changes of life, and we make them worse. And that's why I love quoting Bruce Lee, be like water. When you put water in a cup, it becomes a cup. You put it in a teapot, it becomes a teapot. It forms into whatever form, whatever vessel you put it into. It can flow and it can crash. And when we allow some more flow in our lives, and I think most of our life struggles come from resisting the natural changes of life, come from resisting that now is now, yesterday is gone, and tomorrow's a mystery. So all we have is now, and that includes the changes, the natural changes of life, which include going from childhood to adulthood, becoming a parent, watching your kids grow up, watching them leave the house, having loved ones get sick and leave the planet. All these different things are natural changes of life. It's the natural flow of life. But when we resist those things, when we resist the natural emotions that come up, and especially for us guys, when we continually try to stuff down the fact that I actually feel remorse, I feel I'm mourning this person's passing, or I'm mourning the loss of a job or relationship. We as men need to learn how to mourn more effectively so we can suffer less, because most of us are suffering more and making it harder because we're not allowing ourselves to mourn and grieve and go through the whole process.
I think that's a great point. Like I said, I've had to hit the reset relationally and marriage-wise, multiple times in life. I've been laid off from jobs multiple times in my life. I've relocated across country before. All these different experiences, the point you just brought up of allowing yourself to experience the experience. And part of that experience is the cycle of grief. As part of that experience is, feeling the feelings that come along with the loss of whatever it was, especially if it was something bad, especially if it was something very close to you, and to go through that process and to give yourself the grace to maybe even do it ugly sometime, maybe even do it ugly for a minute or two. Maybe, just maybe, I got to get through this minute, and whatever I got to get through this minute, okay, I'm going to have to, just give myself the grace that, yeah, I had to do that. But allow yourself to feel the feelings and to go through the process, and to not let the feelings of grief or loss or the devastation of whatever was destroyed to get to the point where you don't process that and you don't learn from it and grow from it. Because the best way to hit that reset, the best way to start over and to have a new beginning, is to learn all the lessons that you learned by going through the process of the loss. But if you don't allow yourself to go through the process of the loss, which, like I said, a lot of times includes all of the stages of grief, and if you just Google the stages of grief and or watch a YouTube video on it, and just to go through those processes, man, just to be able to feel that feeling is important. And a lot of times, especially as guys, we don't want to go through that. We don't want to feel the feeling. I don't want it to hurt. We don't like hurt. And then we try to, circumvent it. We try to go around it. And the best way to do it is to go through it.
Right. And you have to feel it to heal it. That's just the way the world is. And for us guys, because we've been told most of our lives, suck it up, don't cry, be a man. We don't allow ourselves to go through those stages. We don't allow ourselves to feel what we need to feel to heal, to learn the wisdom from the pain, to get the collateral beauty from that trauma. And if you wonder why most of us for a long time date the same woman or the same person in different bodies, it's because we didn't learn a lesson the first time because we wouldn't allow ourselves to feel. And all you out there who bounce from relationship to relationship to relationship, don't take time in between to take stock and to reassess and to go, that was an end. Now I need to clean the closet and reassess and reprioritize to start over fresh. If you just bounce from one to the next, you're just carrying all that baggage and that luggage and that trauma and that trash into the next relationship, making that other person pay for whatever happened in the past that you didn't process and you didn't heal. And then if you wonder why you keep getting the same people, keep having these failed relationships, you're not looking in the mirror to go, hey, I'm the common denominator. I'm the same in all these different relationships. I'm the same person and I'm in every one of these. So maybe it's me. And maybe that comes down to I haven't processed, I haven't healed, and I haven't learned the lessons I needed to learn from these past relationships to get fresh and to start over in this new relationship. Because we hope every one of us has been raised on Disney and hopefully in romantic comedies, and we're all hopeless romantics and we're waiting for the ride off into the sunset, the star-crossed lover syndrome. We think every new relationship, every new person is a fresh start. Well, if you're not fresh, if you're not clean, so fresh and so clean, you're not going to have a fresh start.
The reason why New Year's resolutions don't work is because you haven't changed the person that went from 20 whatever into 20 whatever. You haven't changed what's on the inside. You haven't learned the lessons that got you obese. You haven't learned the lessons that got you deep in addiction. You haven't learned all of those things. And so to just, flip the calendar and say, okay, this year I'm gonna whatever, that's great for commercialism. I mean, gym memberships love that. I mean, they love that little boost they get at the beginning of the year, because all these people who all of a sudden, they come February, March, they want to look good in the summertime. So they go, jump up in the gym and get memberships January, February, and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't fix the root cause of all that stuff, which is learning the lesson, which is feeling the feelings, which is applying the lessons that you learned, then you are going to get the same results over and over again. You are going to keep having failed relationships if the same thing that keeps ending all of your relationships you don't fix. I mean, that's the way it is. But the only way you do that is by, first of all, not fearing the change, but then also learning from whatever it was that fell apart and capitalizing that and applying all of those lessons to yourself to make you different going forward, so that when you rebuild, you're not rebuilding temporary housing. You're rebuilding a permanent structure that's going to last the next storm that comes through.
Yeah. And when it comes to looking at when you're ready to do this work, because it's the internal work, you got to start asking yourself questions. When your first reaction is it's their fault, it's them, you have to ask yourself, is that true? And most of the time, your ego is going to say, yes, of course, they're awful. Then you say, well, is there any possible way that could not be true? And then you have to dig in a little bit. It's like, well, why do I, as the common denominator in all these relationships, keep getting the same people in different bodies? Obviously, there's something I'm getting out of it. Well, then, of course, your ego's going to freak out and be like, I'm not getting anything out of it. They're just all awful. At some level, you're getting something out of that. So you have to dig down, and that's how you get to your foundation. That's how you heal those traumas, when you realize something mommy or daddy said when you were 5 or 6 years old made you feel unlovable or unwanted, and now you're continually bringing in these people to reinforce that unconscious belief. It's those unconscious beliefs that are running us. That's why we're all a bunch of 8-year-olds having temper tantrums out here when the world doesn't go the way we want it. And so these are all lessons we can learn if we're willing to ask the question, is that true? Is there any way that cannot be true? How do I act when I think these thoughts or feel this way? And who would I be if I couldn't think or act that way? And that's from the work from Byron Katie. So that's one aspect. You can also look at, there's shout out to Chris Nasky, because he put me on this new book, The Magic of Surrender by Kute Blackson. I think it's Blackson or Blackman. Anyway, check that out. That's another great book on surrender and how to allow your ego to guide you to your next lesson, to your flow, and to learn those lessons that will get you to the life you want, that will get you to the flow that you want, instead of constantly fighting and rebelling and rejecting and refusing to grow and learn.
And on top of that, constantly thinking that change ain't going to happen.
Right.
That everything that is now is going to be that. And so, man, I think understanding and recognizing the fact that it's coming, that whatever it is,
it's coming. You can't do nothing about it.
Then, and being prepared for it. And then when it comes, process that thing and get through that thing very well. Hey, I know a thing we can get through.
What's that?
Let's get through a break.
Let's do that.
We'll be right back. This is a Mad Men of Masculinity, 1220 a.m. in the Mile High City, KLDC.
Can't get your mama to tell you it's not happening. Can't lie to yourself. It's happening.
I tell you what's happening is this dating thing we're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do this thing, man.
Tanner's not gonna show up for work all of a sudden and be like, "What happened? No, they scared me away."
We're gonna do that thing, man. That's what happens. That is gonna happen. Again, if you're watching us live right now, this is basically the recording. This is the live streaming of us recording our over-the-air radio show here in Denver on 1220 a.m. We figured while we're in here doing this, why don't we go ahead and live stream, and then and then we can kind of capitalize in multiple ways off of what we're doing. But sure enough, if you're in the Denver area, you can check us out Saturday mornings at 8 a.m., Wednesdays at 6 p.m. And there's that. I remember one time I told Alexa to go to KLDC 1220, and sure enough, she did. That's like one of the few things she actually listened to and did what I told her to do. You ever notice how Alexa, when you tell her to do something now, she comes back with all kinds of suggestions and advice and trying to upsell you and all this other, man.
No.
I'm like, man, if Alexa don't stop trying to upsell me on everything, man, she be getting on my nerves.
I didn't trust her when they tried to get us in the house the first time, so I definitely wouldn't trust her now.
Dude, I tell you what, man, when Jeff Bezos went through that divorce, we all paying for that divorce, man. Jeff was like, yeah, I ain't paying $50 billion. All them gonna pay $50 billion because they raising the prices on all kinds of stuff, man. If you want this, you got to pay an extra $4.99 a month for this. You got to pay extra whatever for this.
Well, on Prime, it's not streaming anymore because now they have commercials unless you want to pay $3 a month.
Somebody told me that the Bob Marley movie was on Prime.
Yeah.
I went there and looked for it, man. You got to rent it or buy it. Yeah. I'm like, oh, you kidding me, man?
You got to wait. You got to wait like 3 months before it to come free. So it's like, if you want it now, you want to be up on it.
We all paying for Jeff Bezos' divorce. I'm just letting you know, man.
It's happening. Speaking of,
passing that along.
Talk about paying for stuff.
Oh yeah.
Let's get back on.
Let's get it.
Yes, we are back.
That's right.
This is the Mad Men of Masculinity, right here on KLDC. What city are we in?
This is Denver, Colorado.
That's right. It's Mile High City.
5280 up in this piece.
Yes, sir.
5,280 feet of glory up in Denver, Colorado, man. I like it here, man.
It is nice.
I mean, we both
springtime can be a little.
Colorado is sunny, man. People talk about Florida being a sunshine state. Colorado is sunnier than Florida.
Yeah, we got 300 days. Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, if you don't know, you better find out, man. You better holler at Colorado.
There's enough people coming here, man.
Right. I better keep quiet, man.
Enough people coming here.
If you come here, come to visit. Don't come to buy a house.
It's awful. It's expensive. The weather's awful. The people are nasty. You don't want to be here.
Dude, it is kind of crowded.
Too many people here.
Anyhow. Speaking of starting over.
Yeah, let's talk about starting over. Ironically, like I was thinking about because of all the people moving here and the rent prices, I was thinking about moving to Texas the week that we actually got this radio show. You're talking about starting over. It was like, my brakes started squeaking. I took them in like, well, before I drive 1,000 miles, maybe I get my brakes checked out.
Yeah.
Then I went in there like, that'll be $1,000 for all new pads, rotors, and everything. And I went, guess I'm not going to Texas.
There you go.
And then we got the call, came in, we met the station manager, and then we got the show, and that's kind of been history, man.
Shout out Crawford Broadcasting.
Yes, sir.
Shout out Mike, the big boss around here, the big kahuna.
Thank you for not chasing us out the door every time we walk in here.
I know, man, for letting us knuckleheads come in here and do what we do, man. We just try to do it. Shout out to our sponsors, man. We love them. Man, you hear from them in the breaks and all that kind of stuff, man. Just shout out to Tanner, man. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this dating thing up in here. We're gonna have a real life dating game up in here. Man.
Yeah. Thank you for staying here, Tanner. We already lost one producer. Thank you for sticking around as long as you have. We'll try not to scare you away.
It's hard to keep people around.
Speaking of starting over,
man. When you start over in life, you got to be willing to get your hands dirty. You got to be willing to, and I would say too, you're better off when you start over if you don't start over alone. I had a scenario where, there's only two to choose from. So you can, if you do your math, you can figure out which one. But, I had a book scenario. I was publishing a book. I was partnering up with somebody. And then kind of on the final stretch of the book publishing process, it all fell apart. we kind of had a difference in everything, me and the other person, and it all fell apart. And it was like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? You know, that was one of those start over kind of scenarios. And I decided to start over, but not start over alone. I decided to start over with other people, man. And in all honesty, the final project was better than it would have been in the first version. But that was one of those, you got to pivot, you got to regroup, you got to come back, and you got to plan, you got to strategize. You can't go cry in the corner and, you know, whine and all that kind of stuff. You got to say, okay, you know, dust yourself off and get back up. And what am I going to do now?
Yeah, I mean, that's how life flows. You get an idea, and then you start moving that direction, and then something changes, and it's up to us to acknowledge that maybe this is a change that needs to happen for the betterment of this project, even though it looks completely opposite of what we think. And when you allow that to happen, then you'll be guided into the next thing. And the next thing, like the book project was one thing. I mean, even the men's summit that we got coming up, August 24th, tickets will be coming out on Father's Day. So make sure you like and subscribe and pay attention, because when those tickets come on sale, they may go fast. But anyway, even with the summit, we've had to adjust. We've had to flow. I mean, we had our dream team, and then we're like, you know, maybe this doesn't work for everybody, which is fine. I mean, it's a struggle. It's something we have to like go, okay, well, maybe this isn't the actual team. Maybe it's going to shift and change, but that's how life goes. Sometimes you start with one group, and then you realize, okay, well, maybe that's not the group. And then, you know, people come and go and things like that. So that's just how life goes. And then once you get to the final product, then you'll look back, you know, hindsight's 20/20 for a reason. You can look back on everything in your life, and if you have an open mind, you'll realize why everything happened the way it did. Because usually you can see the breadcrumbs, you can see the road signs, you can see all the turns and why you had to go that way. It's in the middle of it, when you're in the valley, when you're in the fog, and you go, why am I going this way? Why do I feel lost? I don't understand any of this. Have faith and know that this too shall pass, this will change, and you will get to your destination ultimately.
That's the hope in the situation. The hope in the situation is that it's going to be okay. The hope in the situation is that you've been through some stuff before. You're going to make it through this like you made it through everything else. The hope in the situation is, if you got any kind of faith in your life, man, God got you through all that other stuff. He's going to get you through this. I mean, you got to have hope in the situation that it's going to be okay. You may smell like smoke, but you'll come through the fire. Mm-hmm. You know, you may come out of the fight with a bloody nose or a black eye, but you'll survive, and it'll be okay. You look at all these MMA fighters and boxers, and after a match or whatever, man, they look just like a hot mess, man. They look like hot garbage. But you see them a week or two later, and you know they're right back in the gym. Their face is healed up, and in most cases, they're better off than they were before. So you got to have hope that it's going to be okay, whatever it is you're going through, whatever the transition is that you're going through. That you know, it may not look pretty now, but one day, and when you make it through the other side, you'll be better off. You'll be more seasoned. You will have learned something that you didn't know before, and you'll be stronger even for the next challenge.
Yeah, faith is all about knowing that what's meant for you will be yours, and that if it's not yours, if it's not happening the way you think it is, then it wasn't meant to, and that there's a bigger plan that you don't understand, that you can't see. You can't see the whole plan. You can't see the whole forest for the trees. Like, you can only see where you're at now, being present in the moment. So having faith that what is meant for you will be for you and will come to you. And for a lot of us guys, it's a matter of allowing those things that aren't meant for us, that we think are, to go. What was that Garth Brooks song? Thank God for unanswered prayers. I mean,
I'm from the ghetto, man. We're listening.
You know, I seen you in that cowboy hat. You know, I saw you two-stepping. He likes Garth Brooks. You know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But that's a perfect example. Thank God for unanswered prayers. You think that girl in high school is going to be your end-all, be-all. You think that first job is going to be your whole career. You think this, that, and the other thing are supposed to be, quote unquote, those things that are going to make me who I am, those things that are going to last forever, and then they don't. But what you got out of that thing, what you learn from that thing, if you're willing to feel it and heal it and process and get the wisdom from those experiences, then all of those things will set you up for what you're meant to do. The fact that I've been single all my life for the most part and don't have, kids or wife or whatever, I don't understand it necessarily, other than it's going to make sense at some point. This is taking me down a certain road, a certain path. And of course, it's not for everybody. Not everybody has a family. Not everybody gets married. Not everybody does those things. So sometimes those of us who don't have those quote unquote normal lives are meant for something else, or we just haven't gotten to the point where we realize this is what I'm made for. This is why I was born. I mean, was it Mark Twain's quote was the two most important days of your life are the day you're born, the day you find out why. Well, guess what? Peeling back those layers, learning from your lessons, having hindsight, and gaining wisdom from whatever has happened in your life through your entire life. I mean, even going back and taking an assessment and maybe sitting down one day and going, this is my childhood. I mean, write it out and look at it from a observer's point of view and see what you can glean from it. Then you might actually learn why you were born, why you're here, and what your purpose is.
I have been caught up in 3 different like corporate layoff kind of situations where, you know, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of people get over the course of my life. And I'll tell you, the first time it happened, man, I was devastated to the core. Like I didn't even know I couldn't even breathe. Second time it happened, I was like, man, that sucks, bro. But you know, and it was still, it's always they catch you off guard. But it was one of those kind of things that, man, that was not fun at all. The last time it happened, it was like, okay, it still wasn't fun. I mean, you still go in like every other day and you walk out with a box and an envelope, you know, with some directions in it on what to do next. And so it's still never fun. But you have that reset period like right after. And I would definitely say the last time it happened, man, I was at peace. I was probably more at peace than everybody around me, that's for sure. And it turned out it worked out okay, because it always does work out okay. So, you know, so when you go into these scenarios where life throws a curveball at you, or even more so, when life swings a baseball bat at you, and you find yourself knocked down, you know, beat up, toe up from the flow up, whatever it is, whatever the scenario is, you know, that start. And, you know, sometimes it's not even a bad thing. You know, you talk about, you know, when, let's say, for example, when somebody gets married. I've happened to been in that scenario multiple times. Let's say when you have a kid. I mean, all of these are good things in life. It's still a start over. It's still a reset. Everything that was yesterday is not today anymore. And so you still have all of these principles that are involved in the same concept. So it's not even always bad stuff, but you still have to be able to be resilient. You still have to be able to have hope that it's going to be all right, even in the transition. You know, you still have to not fear the transition. You still have to make sure you don't fear the change. But it doesn't always even have to be a bad thing.
Yeah, most time it's not. And for those of you who think you're enlightened and you think you've got it all figured out, you're still going to freak out. When those changes happen, when you get laid off, when a relationship ends, when something happens that you weren't expecting, you're still going to freak out. But if you've been doing your work, you'll have a shorter turnaround time. You'll be like, okay, I freaked out. I had a moment. I'm going to mourn that. I'm going to allow that to feel those feelings, allow that to come through me. And then, okay, now what? And in my experience, I've had times where I was fired for things that were completely ridiculous and couldn't figure out at the time why. And then it turned out to be better in the long run. I was more free and I found another job right away. But, you know, in that moment, I'm like, I felt crushed. I felt defeated. I felt like this was unfair. This, you know, why? Oh, poor me. Why me? And then it turned out to be better than what I ever knew. So it's just another proof that you don't know the path. You don't know what is meant for you. And when these things happen, especially when they happen out of the blue and unexpectedly, that's turning you in another direction. It's basically God or the universe taking your shoulders and turning you and going, go that way. Like this is your next turn in the path. This is your next sign in the path. Follow it. And then when you get to the next one, follow that one. I was listening to the guy today on the book, and he was talking about when you do certain things, like when you do the Camino, the hike, the 500-mile hike from France into Spain. And they say how you do life is how you do everything. And so he was half a mile away from a fork in the road, and he's already, which way should I go? How should I? Not even there to see which sign will point him in the right direction. He's already questioning and already trying to decide and already trying to figure out, instead of trusting the process and knowing that when he gets to the turn, there'll be a sign to point him in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. And man, I love that. I love that imagery, that all of these kind of scenarios that we're talking about are mile markers in your life. All of these types of scenarios that we're talking about, it's kind of like traveling down a road where there will be a sign when you get there. And there will be some kind of indication either as to what's next, where you've been and or where you're going, and even so much like where you are. Like I said, these mile marker signs on the highway, they don't necessarily give you any more information other than where you are on the journey. And so when you go through these transitions, when you go through these these resets, these startovers. And when you go through each and every one of them, you can look at them as a new beginning, to, okay, this is the off ramp, exit 19A, whatever that is, and this is just where I am now. And this is the direction I'm going in. My journey is going to go in this direction. And when I get there, there'll probably be another road, another curve that'll eventually take me somewhere. If you're going to get a phone call, that's going to change everything. You're going to get a tap on the shoulder. You're going to get a text message, an email, or whatever it is that'll change everything. But either way, it'll be a sign, a mile marker. It'll be an indicator of where you are in life and where you are in the journey.
Yeah, and speaking of, for you kids who only use GPS and don't know how to read a map and don't understand what those numbers on the little green signs mean, if you are in an incident, if you break down and you see that mile marker, that's how you tell emergency services where to find you. I'm on I-70 west or eastbound at mile marker 222. I've broken down. Now they know exactly where you are, but it's just another life lesson that it's telling you where you are now. Those road signs and those mile markers, this is where you are now. And now you know how far to go. You're going to go until you get to the next thing. Because if you subtract it from this mile marker, that, you know how many miles you got to go until you get to a home.
Yeah, well, the next place we're about to go is to a break. Mad Men of Masculinity. We'll be right back. KLDC. Boom.
I can feel you me mugging me. You're like, it's time to break. It's time to break.
You feel me mugging you?
Mm-hmm.
That was gas.
Mine or yours? Because I didn't.
Not this time. At least not that I'm going to admit.
Mm-hmm.
You'll know. Dude, it's been chilly up in this joint, man.
Yeah.
For real.
Hanging meat up in here.
Tender in there, toasty.
They're trying to keep us fresh.
For real. So freshness will plenty.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's finish with that.
Let's do it. Welcome back to the Mad Men Show.
Welcome back, like Cotter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I like that show, man. Horseshack. Yeah.
Horseshack.
Vidi Barbarino.
That's the one I was thinking of. I couldn't remember John Travolta's.
Vidi
Barbarino.
Washington.
Washington.
I forgot. And then there was another guy.
It's been a while.
I mean,
that was the 70s, man.
Was it? It's probably in the 70s.
Late 70s or late.
How many of them are still alive? John Travolta's still alive.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I'm sure most of them. Except for Mr. Carter. He's not.
He's got to be old, man. He's got to be gone.
Yeah.
Gabe Kaplan was his name, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. He's got to be gone.
Somebody let us know. We don't know. We just run it off of the mouth.
Yeah. Speaking of, one of us, there'll come a day where, man, we'll those transitions will hit us, man. It'll be, it'll be some news that we get that life's got to start over, maybe even without this person.
Yeah.
I would say coming down the home stretch here in this final segment, and it's been kind of hard to hold off on this one, but I think one of the key ingredients you need to have in your life for when these transitions, when these endings and the beginning, because the end of something is always the beginning of something else, right? And so when you get to these transition points, one of the key things to have in your life is other people.
Yes. Yeah, you got to have other perspectives, other people who can hold you up, who can hold you down, who can support you when you're going through those things, and who may be the ones who can hold that mirror up for you, ask you those questions, and be there to say, it's going to be okay. I know several times Kirk and I have both been like, the other one's going through something. He's getting fired. I'm thinking this or that, or dealing with ladies or whatever the deal is. And it's the other one to say, they have the bigger picture where they can say, it's going to be all right. Have faith. You got this and we'll get through it. And having those people around you to do that makes life much easier, much better, and allows you to have ample experience of other people to help you learn those lessons even better. Because a lot of times, even in our own personal lessons, as we heal those things, that we feel them and heal them, having other people share helps us to gain even more insight. Like we had our meeting this last weekend, and just doing a reset in the beginning and sharing how our week was, what we're struggling with, what our wins were. Even in doing that, it was cathartic for all of us to hear I'm not the only one struggling. Everybody else has got something going on, and we can all share and gain a better perspective of what's going on in our own lives by listening to those around us.
You got to have people in your life, and men, you got to have other men in your circle. You cannot live a healthy masculine life alone. This doesn't work that way.
And you need to share, man, because I am the king isolationist and the king. It's all good. Keep it under my hat, and everything's fine. But getting in a group of other men who feel comfortable sharing, and then feeling uncomfortable, like I do most of the time when I share, but sharing out, and then allowing that process to unfold, and you'll be surprised what you gain wisdom wise, what you learn, what you heal, what you feel. It's just about sharing and being honest. This is where I am right now.
We've said this before in different contexts around here and different topics, but you can go faster in some ways alone, but you go farther when you have other people with you, when you have a team, when you have a squad. And too many of us are living alone, too alone. I mean, too many of us are living with not enough masculine support in our life. One guy that you maybe talk to every now and then, you know, that you check in and you text, you know, every few months and all this other kind of stuff. That's not good enough. That is not good enough, man, because life is coming at us too hard. We got too many challenges. We got too many ups and downs. We got too many things coming at us, man. We got too many challenges to face, you know, alone. Navy SEALs don't go into battle alone. I mean, you know, Rambo is fiction, right? I mean, even the fighter that's in the ring or in the octagon has a team of people right outside that's coaching them, that's yelling in there, that's yelling what they see that the fighter doesn't see, or that helps them heal up cuts in between rounds, et cetera, et cetera. We got to have a power team in our lives. And if we don't, man, you're destined to fall short, to fall apart, and to implode when you go through any one of these life changes. Any one of them. Loss of a job, loss of a career, loss of a relationship, loss of a close family member maybe in your life. Any of these kind of things, when you're trying to go through these reset kind of things, it doesn't work when you try to do it alone. It just doesn't happen.
And you need other guys to share with, because it will help you get through those stages and start over quicker when you realize, one, I'm not alone. Two, other guys can give me more information and they can share their experiences so I can learn even more from my experience. And three, you'll actually understand when you isolate. One of the biggest reasons men who isolate either take themselves out or other people out is they don't realize the contribution that they give to the world. And then when you get around other guys and you share and you listen and you collaborate, you will see your contribution. You'll feel your contribution, and you'll have other men there to acknowledge your contribution and tell you, hey, you're worth it. I'm glad you're here. You are, you know, a priceless son of God that I need in my life. When you are by yourself, all you hear is that demon in your head telling you how worthless you are.
Because you when you're by yourself, all you hear, the messaging that tends to play in your mind is the end, and the failure and the loss and the downfall and the downgrade and all these other kind of things. That's the narrative that tends to play in your mind for by far most of us, 99 out of 100 maybe. That's the tapes that generally play in your mind. When you have other good men that you trust, a circle of men in your life, that messaging quickly or more quickly changes to, it's not the end, it's the beginning. Okay, let's get back up. Let's do this thing. Let's push it harder. Let's regroup. Let's sit down. Let's strategize. All these other kind of things. When you have people around you, they will remind you that we're in this together. If you look at football, before every play, they huddle up. They get in a circle and they strategize. Here's the play. You know, Y spider X90 out, whatever it is. And you know, and then they got the guys on the sidelines. They got the coach in the box. All these other, they got trainers. They got a whole staff of people that are around them. And so when we go into battle, the difference between the tapes in your head saying the end versus the voices that you hear saying this is the new beginning, or whether or not you have a strong circle of men around you.
Yeah, and guys, when you know, this is one way to know how you found the right one, because we all need a mutual admiration society. And if you have that with your guys, that is great. But when you find that right woman, and you'll know it because you probably had those relationships where it wasn't a lot of mutual admiration. There's probably a lot of mutual condemnation. So look for that woman that you admire who also admires you. You're off to a great start. And then make sure you still have your group of guys that can support you through that, because we all, I mean, come on, if they say it takes a village to raise a child, it probably takes 2 villages to raise a man. Mm-hmm. We need as many people around us that are healthy, that are working on themselves, that need our support and can support us as we can find.
Yeah. That's why we kind of live the way we do. That's why we do a lot of things. That's why we're doing this. Yep. I mean, really, it's to let you know that you're not alone in a lot of things you go through. we're open, we're transparent about our life, our experiences, stuff that other guys may not talk about openly in a room, let alone over the air, let alone over the internet around the world. I mean, we kind of put ourselves out there like that. And on a less public basis, we live like that. You just talked about over the weekend. We sat in a room and it was 4 of us, and we just talked about life and ups and downs that we were going through. One guy might be healing from a procedure, another guy might be healing from a end of relationship, another guy might be healing from challenges in his life and his career, another guy might be healing from what he has or doesn't have in his life, so on and so forth. But we live these things, we try to model these things, not only just modeling it to show, but modeling it to have input and perspective. And I'm telling you, one of the biggest lessons I learned in my life is that for most of my life up to now, 80-90% of my life up to now, I lived too alone. I lived too isolated. I didn't have enough men and support in my life. Fantastic to have a great woman. I love the woman in my life. She's amazing. I mean, the most amazing woman I've ever had in my life. I mean, talk about support and all these other kind of things. I'm going to the gym. She's telling me I look good every night. Oh, look, your tricep, and I mean, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, just absolutely amazing. And at the same time, 2 things can be true at the same time. That is important. And she knows as much as anybody that I also value the men in my life as well in different ways, in terms of needing both balances of those. But you cannot live life isolated. You cannot live life alone.
And if you want to find a group of guys, there are many groups out there, but there's going to be a major event August 24th, the Men's Summit. The Men's Empowerment Network is coming together. We're coming together to do an all-day summit so that you can meet us in person. You can hear us talk. You can hear some of our favorite other people that you may not have seen on the show. Maybe you missed that episode or they just haven't been on the show yet. But mark your calendars, August 24th, Parker Schoolhouse. Come see you guys. It's the Men's Empowerment Network. We are the Mad Men of Masculinity. And until next time, we, as the Mad Men, are out.